the vendors wouldn't fulfill products in my small quantities at the time. So I did have to make more calls. I did have to reach out to more vendors than what I ultimately needed. But I ended up really building some great relationships with vendors that I could buy over and over. Now, I also had to build the relationships with my US Postal Service workers because they were delivering all these boxes to my doorstep. We were packing everything up, and then they were coming back to pick them up. So, every time we had a batch shipment go out, we would give the postal worker a little gift card or, cupcakes or something. So that's how small business really, those relationships can be built, on like true partnerships. So there were a lot of moments though, where something shipped late or didn't arrive to me in time. And that's just one of those moments where you have to have a backup plan. You have to pivot sometimes when necessary, but you figure it out on the fly. I feel like that's kind of an entrepreneurial mantra. You just figure it out.
Love it. Bars, gems, nuggets, diamonds. Say it again for the people in the back.
Yes.
I think you have, as an entrepreneur, like if you aren't resourceful or have the innate ability and competency to figure things out, that's when you fail.
Yeah.
Like
I agree.
Over the years, I'm like, okay. Welcome to the Analytical Rewired. I'm your host, Jennifer White, CEO of the MJW Group. And today we have a very special guest here with us today, Julie Ball. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks so much for having me on today. I can't wait to talk shop with you.
Yeah, I was just explaining to Julie, I'm interested to hear what she has to say. She definitely has a journey, and I know she has utilized her left and right brain with the decisions that she's been faced with in her career and her tenure. So, Julie, again, welcome to the show. Why don't you start out by telling everyone what it is that you do?
Sure. So I'm a subscription box founder and coach, and I founded a subscription box in 2016 called Sparkle Hustle Grow. It's an entrepreneurial box, so personal development, office supplies, tech gadgets, that kind of good stuff. Fast forward 6 years, which was last summer, is when I actually sold the business. And since then, I've doubled down on the coaching. And there's a whole story before that too. I was in corporate America for 10 years. So I'm a corporate dropout, and launched my first business in 2011 when I had my daughter. So last year, when we sold the business, it wasn't something that we had planned for years. I did not build this to sell. And I'm sure we'll get more into that. But it was one of those moments in our lives as a family where we were ready for our next season. And that meant selling this business. And so, yeah, I can't wait to dive deeper into that. So I'm originally from Pittsburgh, live in the Asheville, North Carolina area with my husband, Kenny, daughter, McKenna, and mini Labradoodle, Bobo. And so, yeah, that's a little bit about me.
Great. Awesome. So, corporate dropout. I don't think I've used that term. I like that one. I was in for about, I think 11 or 12 years. So I'm all about, dang, why didn't I do it faster?
Right.
Because there's just so much opportunity. So what was it? Was it your daughter at the time, or was there other things going on that made you drop out of corporate?
Yeah, it's funny because when I tell my story about being a corporate dropout, it almost sounds like I did time. It's like I did 10 years in corporate. But I did take a lot from that experience. I was working in a very male dominated industry, and I was in a leadership position. And so that was a huge challenge. And at the time I was commuting about 45 minutes with traffic. And when we found out we were expecting, I had that mindset shift that, okay, I don't want to be 45 minutes from my home. Where would I get daycare? Would that be, close to my job or close to home? I don't want to have to do this commute and worry about, asking a boss to take off if my kid is sick. And so I had this big mindset shift. And with my background, mostly in online marketing and communications, that type of thing, I thought all I needed was a laptop and a drive. Like, a solid why. Like, why am I doing this? So I started freelancing during naps, nights, and weekends. And it was a big risk. Like, we didn't know if it was going to last
Yeah.
30 days, 3 years, how long. But, fast forward from 2011, here I am still living that entrepreneur life. So it worked. And it was definitely a risk. But I left corporate America because I was going to become a stay-at-home mom. And I just decided it's hard to live off of one income. So that's why I started
Mhm.
freelancing. Hmm.
Wow, I love that. I love that. And I think as entrepreneurs, we take risk,
Hmm.
and we tend to travel down the road let's travel with no instruction at all. It's
Yeah,
like just come as you are. And I think that's one good thing about entrepreneurs is we have that creative side. Now,
yeah,
you seem to be a creative, right? So you're used to utilizing your right brain to bring creativity and innovation into the world and the marketplace. But besides starting out from the online marketing, how did we go from the freelancing online marketing to full-blown subscription
it's
box
crazy.
owner?
I know, right? I feel like I'm right in the middle with that creativity side and the analytical side, which I feel like is a really, really lucky place to be when you're an entrepreneur. And so I don't take that for granted for sure. But throughout the years, my first official kind of freelancing gig was, just doing social media for small businesses.
Mhm.
And I would go in and I would say, I learned how to do search engine optimization, pay per click, that type of thing. But I would go into these small businesses and their websites were so bad. And I said, we can't send traffic to something that is not going to convert. You're going to waste your money. And so I taught
Mhm.
myself how to build WordPress websites. And that was kind of my first step into a bigger picture of could this gig look like. And so I brought on a couple of my girlfriends. One was good at photography, one was good at design, and one was good at copywriting. And so we created this little agency to help small businesses in the Charlotte area at the time. Then in 2016, when we moved to Asheville, I was getting just a little bit lonely behind the screen. I was in a new community. I didn't have a group of friends yet. And sometimes when there's a gap and you need to fill that gap with something. At
Yeah.
the time, I filled that gap with subscription boxes and Happy Mail, and it gave me a new project to just lose myself in. So I subscribed to a couple of boxes like Stitch Fix, which is for clothing,
Mhm.
Yogi Surprise, which was for yoga enthusiasts. And as I was opening these boxes and I was feeling this joy, I thought to myself, why couldn't I do that for women in business? When we're running our businesses, it can feel like you're so lonely on an island by yourself. And I felt that way. So I looked back at my own expenses and said, okay, what would I put in this box? And so I was buying online courses because I'm a lifelong learner. I was buying office supplies. I was buying books. And I thought, what if I just put all those in a box and ship them out? And that's where the idea came from. I did not have
Mm.
a background in product-based businesses, but I just started dabbling. And the response was really incredible. Women were saying, I would love this. I need this. And I launched in October of 2016. And by the end of that year, I had 100 subscribers, which made me feel like it had legs. And within 9 months, I replaced my full-time salary. And so that's when I dissolved the agency and went all in on the subscription box.
Wow. Wow.
I feel like
Love
we
that.
fall into things sometimes, it's not planned. It just
It's
kind of
not.
happens.
But I love that. And I think you used a lot of your corporate experience and
Yes.
probably analytical brain, right, to know, okay, the numbers are kind of picking up here. And like you said, this has legs now. So there was a justification or green light per se to you to say, let's just go, let's do it.
Yeah.
And when you went full throttle with it, talk to me about how you supply the box, because my background supply chain, so I know all about getting product from A to B and
Mhm.
all the mishaps that can happen in between with suppliers. So how did that even how did you even start that?
Well, there's a lot of changes throughout the years because as we grew, I did have to ultimately outsource at different times. So I would
Hmm.
have things sent to a third party fulfillment center. But at the time when I was starting, I just started reaching out to some of the brands that I would find at Office Depot or some of my other favorite stores. And I just turned the product over and I'd look to see who it was made by and what the product number was. And then it was just about building relationships. So I would reach out to those companies. And this was before I knew about Fair, which is
Yeah.
an online marketplace for small brands and larger brands, but you can buy wholesale there. But I was just building relationships directly with these brands. And I would simply say, hi, my name is Julie, and I run a subscription box for women entrepreneurs. Who can I talk to about wholesale orders?
Mhm.
It was super simple. And so it always led me to the right person. Now, some of the vendors wouldn't fulfill products in my small quantities at the time. So I
Mhm.
did have to make more calls. I did have to reach out to more vendors than what I ultimately needed. But I ended up really building some great relationships with vendors that I could buy over and over. Now, I also had to build the relationships with my US Postal Service workers because they were delivering all these boxes to my doorstep. We were packing everything up and then they were coming back to pick them up. So, we would every time we had a batch shipment go out, we would give the postal worker a little gift card or, cupcakes or something. So
Love it.
that's how small business really, those relationships can be built, on like true partnerships. So there were a lot of moments though where something shipped late or didn't arrive to me in time. And that's just one of those moments where you have to have a backup plan. You have to pivot sometimes when necessary, but you figure it out on the fly. I feel like that's kind of an entrepreneurial mantra. You just figure it out.
Love it. Bars, bars, gems, nuggets, diamonds. Say it again for the people in the back.
Yes.
Uh, I think you have, as an entrepreneur, like if you aren't resourceful
Hmm.
or have the innate ability and competency to figure things out, that's when you fail.
Yeah,
Like
I agree.
over the years, I'm like, okay, there's always a way, right? There's always a door or a road for you to go down, or somebody to connect with, or somebody to talk to, or that 6 degrees of separation is real. Like,
Right.
like you said, you learn who to lean on because when you're so small, you don't have this huge workforce behind
Hmm.
you. So you have to really figure things out and pivot, just like you said. So I love how you express that, especially in the world today, because I think when you came out with your box, um, it was around the time where that was like ecom was just really, really booming. Like
Yeah.
it was new and it was like shiny to everybody, and everybody was trying to figure things out. And even with some of the newer brands, like today, a lot of people are starting and they're giving up
Hmm.
fairly quickly because
Yeah.
it is a little more saturated than it was before. And we have, Amazon and some other e-commerce subscriptions where we can easily get products like a lot faster. Like Amazon is so much faster than it was years ago. So what advice would you give to people who are starting out, who want to start? So we'll start to get to that. Who want to start a subscription box?
Yeah.
How do you set up the stage for that person?
I think in business, especially more now than ever, you really have to get clear on two things: who you're going to serve. And that's not everyone. You don't want to serve everyone because you'll never be able to make everybody happy. So really niche down and hone in on that specific target audience. Where do they live? What do they look like? Where do they shop? What magazines do they read? All those things, and actually give that person a name. And when you're doing your marketing, pretend like you're talking to that person, that one person. So the first thing is figure out who your target audience is. And the second thing is what pain point are you going to solve for them? Because if you're not making their life better, if you're not solving something for them, they'll just not subscribe, or they'll get one box and then cancel. And we don't want that. The whole idea with a subscription box is that it's recurring, that they're going to
Mhm.
stay around a long time and you're going to be able to serve them over time. So make sure that you're not just sending a box of stuff. You're sending tools and resources to solve a problem. And I think one of the things now it's different than when I first launched is you need to create experiential factors with your box too. because Amazon just ships products, right? But you are a real person. You can create a community, you can create playlists, you can create downloads, you can create all these things to be a part of this membership, this subscription that you've created, and you're no longer just a box of stuff.
Yeah, I love that. Like you said, like a whole experience,
Yes.
because I find myself, I'm a YouTube junkie, so I will I will be on YouTube, and some of the brands, like they'll just show like their warehouse and how they package things and how they get the orders in and things like that,
Mhm.
which fascinates me because my
Behind the
background's
scenes.
supply chain.
Yeah, it's fascinating.
Right, right. I love the behind the scenes, and I'm like dedicated. Like you said, like I'm just interested. I'm like, oh wow, they got a new color. Oh, let me go check it out. Oh, I like how they package that. So yeah, you got to figure out what it's not going to be appealing to everyone, like you said, but
Right.
there is that group of people that's going to stand behind you. I love
Mhm.
that. I love that. So, in the essence of starting an online subscription box or brand, in that expertise that you just gave everyone, what about on the flip side of things? So talk about how you can maybe invest in these brands, or if you don't want to be hands-on as an owner, what are some other ways you can get involved with the subscription-based business?
Well, of course, you can become a subscriber of a box that you are supporting a small business. So that's always fun, is to check out different boxes. A
Yeah.
great place. I mean, you can just Google it or look on YouTube. There's so many unboxings on there. And I encourage you to think very specifically about a pain point in your life and say, okay, is there a box for XYZ? Our students have created game-changing boxes. So it's not just like a self-care box. Yes, it can be a self-care box, but think about like Resilient Nurse Box. It's one of my students.
Mm.
She creates a box to help nurses be more resilient in their career, which is tough. I have another student who created a box called Black Girl Math Chick, and it's for middle school girls and younger that need help with their math confidence and
I
seeing
love
girls
that.
like them in STEM careers. And so it's not just about stuff anymore. There's all these game-changing boxes. We have a student right now in pre-launch that is creating a box for NICU moms. So moms that either are,
Mm.
their baby's in the NICU or they just got home from that journey. And that mom needs very specific things to help her in that season of life. So I think doing research is fun as a consumer, but also if you're thinking about this from a business perspective, get out there and look at the landscape, like what's out there already. I don't think that it's oversaturated because you can niche down more and more and more to really solve a specific thing. And that's a mindset challenge for a lot of new business owners. They just want to help everybody. They don't want to leave anybody out. But it's not that you're leaving somebody out. It's just that you're focusing on a very specific pain point and person that you can really help move the needle. Of course, there might be other people that outliers of that target audience that can benefit from the box and will buy, and that's fine too. But I think that's one of the first steps really is looking at the landscape, seeing, what's already out there. How can you do something better? How can you build a box that solves something that maybe you went through, and you can bring them through this journey from firsthand experience.
Another bar, another bar drop. Oh my gosh. Wow. You're right. Like you really can't never niche down. I think about our neighborhood. We've been in our home, we built brand new 5 years ago now.
Okay.
And when we first came out here, it was just dirt. And it was just like just red clay. And I'm like, oh my God, that's a lot of land. That's gonna be a lot of houses. Are they gonna be able to fill that up? And then slowly, surely, like all these people started coming. It's like, where do all these people come from? Like
Mm-hmm.
seriously, where are they coming from? So you're
Yeah.
right. You can never. I think that whatever you have the demand for it, if it warrants it enough, and you do the marketing and, like you're saying, the communication, and know who you're appealing to and talking to, you
Yeah.
got it.
Yeah.
You're,
So for an example, maybe you want to be in the pet industry. So don't just do a pet box. don't just do a dog box, but pick a specific breed. Maybe it's a Chihuahua box, you know, because they have specific needs versus other breeds of dogs. So think about, you know, try to push yourself to niche down like 1 or 2 more levels than your initial idea, and you're on the right track.
Got it. Got it. That's awesome. So, Julie, talk to me about how you've had to rewire your brain. What are some changes you've made now that you've sold your business and you're on the other side now of helping others start or launch their product subscription business?
I think I have a good story for this one, because when I was first launching my subscription box business, I think you'll appreciate this because we looked at data. As I started to grow the business and see what my profit margin was, I was thinking we had to figure out, like, what's the long-term plan here? How much income can this really generate? So I pull out a Google sheet, and I start typing in my numbers, and I see, okay, I can make this much money if I sell 100 boxes, but what if I sell 200 boxes or 500 boxes or 1,000 boxes? And when we mapped that out, I know my husband finally it clicked in his brain of like how this recurring revenue thing works. And by seeing the actual numbers and the potential for it. And so that was one of the things that we kind of rewired our brain for, is it wasn't chasing one-time sales. It was getting that recurring model set up so people would just automatically renew. And then that income can just grow based off of how many subscribers you have. The other thing that I really think I had to rewire in this business, rewire in my mind, was typically with a subscription box, when someone buys, they're pre-ordering the next box. So as the business owner, I'm buying that inventory 30, 60, sometimes 90 days out. During the pandemic, when there was transportation issues, even further out. And so I had to rewire my mind to think, okay, this money is going to go out. Here's the date that we renew. Here's how many I need to sell to make that back. And then here's when I'm in the green. So it's almost like this cycle, because I had a monthly subscription box. So it was just going through that cycle over and over and learning how the cash flow, the in and the out works. So that took some time and some money mindset training for sure.
Yeah, I was thinking in my head, APAR, 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 like, and then you said cash flow. I was like, yep, that's exactly what it is. How much I spent up front, and then I'm going to recoup it.
Yes. And you have to wait, because the way I ran my subscription box is that everybody, once they were a subscriber, they all renewed on the same date, and they all batch shipped. So I would ship everybody's box on the same date. So it was like I was living and dying by those 2 dates. You know, I'm either in the red or I'm in the green. So you have to rewire your brain, though, to think, okay, I'm buying this product maybe 90 days out, but I can see on my calendar when I project to get that back and when I'll be in the green. So yeah, it's interesting.
Love it. Love it. Well, as we wrap up here today, Julie, is there anything you would like to share with the audience? Any new ventures coming out, or any offerings you have with your current coaching and students?
Yes, thank you so much for the opportunity. I have a podcast called Subscription Box Basics. So if you're thinking about starting a subscription box or adding it to an already existing business as another stream of revenue, that would be a great place to start. Episode 1 is my launch story, and then it kind of goes into some training. It's about 3.5 years worth of content.
Wow.
So there's plenty there. And then when you're ready to take the next step and actually dive deeper into maybe starting this type of business, we have a free training that you can view. It's on video. It's subscriptionboxbasics.com/launch. So I invite all your listeners to check that out.
Awesome. I love it. And I'm definitely going to check that out, because I love listening to podcasts, and I'm walking in the neighborhood or at the gym or even in the car. So I'm definitely I'm gonna binge now. Love it. Love it. All right, Julie. Well, thank you so much for being a guest on the Analytical Rewired. I got in the last 25 minutes a lot of little gems and nuggets and homework to do now, because you've opened my mind now to opportunity that I didn't see. And that's why it's so important. I'll leave this for everyone. Like, it's so important to network, and because we don't know everything, you know, like like what Julie does and what I do are like two separate different things, but I've learned something today and I really appreciate that, Julie. I really appreciate your words, encouragement, and what you left for, some of our new entrepreneurs that may be starting out and maybe a little bit frustrated. Just keep going
Yeah,
and, reach out to those. You never know, someone might respond back to you like she did in the beginning when she was getting started. So you can't, just take one no for an answer.
right.
I'll say you will never make it in entrepreneurship if that first no and you're
That's
done.
true. Very, very true. Well, thank you so much for having me on. I really appreciate it. And it's been a great time chatting with you.
Awesome. Thanks, everyone. Appreciate your time, Julie. Everyone, please make sure you like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel, and we'll catch you on the next episode. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.